Thank you very much for staying with us on TVC News. Earlier on, we brought you a report about allegations by the SDP governorship candidate ahead of the Kogi state governorship election. Well, Natasha Akpoti is live now. She's at our Abuja office now. Let's speak with her to get more about allegations leveled against INEC. Thank you very much, Natasha Akpoti, for joining in at this time. Well, INEC says it hasn't reached a decision on disqualification or otherwise of political parties and their candidates. So what's the situation of things now regarding SDP's complaints?
Thank you very much, Kemi, for having me. And I'd like to say that INEC today is not being honest. I actually had a session with the Professor Yakubu himself on Monday, and he told me to my face in the presence of some INEC commissioners, including Hajia, what's her name again, Zachary. And he told me straight away that because the nomination of my deputy is invalid, therefore I stand to be disqualified. And I'd like to read to Nigerians the letter which INEC sent to my party. It states here, amongst others, that consequently, in line with the provision of the Constitution and in the light of the personal qualifications of the candidates submitted by your party, the nomination of Mohammed Bashir Yakubu as the deputy governorship candidate of your party for the 16th November 2019 governorship election in Kogi State is invalid. So this letter from INEC to SDP actually specifies that my deputy is invalid.
On account of his age?
There's actually a room for substitution. 34.
On account of his
34-year-old engineer.
Right, so INEC's position
that
is on account of his age.
Yes, INEC here tries to rely on the Nigerian Constitution on sections 117B and 187(2) of the 1999 Constitution, which stipulates 35 years as the minimum age requirement for any individual to participate in the governorship or deputy governorship position in Nigeria.
All right. So
now, Yakubu is actually 34 years old. So, but I'd like to say this. When we got the letter, what we did is file in the withdrawal of Mr. Yakubu and an application for Mr. Adams, who is a 48-year-old engineer. Now, we actually have a window of substitution, which ended at 6 p.m. on Monday. And when we sent in on the 18th of September, INEC rejected our request for substitution.
On what grounds?
Then on Monday, they just said because I had erred. INEC said because I had committed an offense by submitting in, they call it an unqualified candidate, that the 34-year-old Nigerian was unqualified, and therefore that actually invalidates my entire nomination.
All right, so what's your desire now? How do you want to see this through, that you were not denied of your right to contest in the election?
I'd like to say this clearly, that the deputy governor is in no way liable in disqualifying me. I went through the Electoral Act, all the processes that would nominate me as a valid candidate. I paid for the forms, I participated in primaries, I had delegates that voted me, and INEC accepted my nomination as valid and published my name on the 12th of September on their website. So INEC itself had some procedures that they would have put in place to ensure that, to check whether I was qualified or not before even listing me as one of those qualified to contest the elections in November. So coming around to disqualify me on the grounds of my candidate, and we have some legal questions to ask. One, does INEC have the powers to disqualify a candidate, a gubernatorial candidate that was validly nominated? The second legal question is, does an invalid nomination of the deputy governor disqualify the valid nomination of a governor? There is no provision of such in the Constitution, neither is there provision of such in the Electoral Act.
Right.
And I'd like Nigerians to know as well
Right,
that presently today,
allow me to ask
the
further.
Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State is a 33-year-old man. In Nasarawa State today, Mahdi Aliu Gusau is a 33-year-old gentleman who serves in the capacity of Deputy Governor of Zamfara State today. And when we asked INEC about that, they said it was the Supreme Court that allowed that exemption. So we ask again, if INEC relies on the 1999 Constitution as the supreme law of Nigeria, which binds them as an institution, is the law of the Supreme Court superior to the Constitution? And we as well know that over time, decisions of the court have somehow influenced the amendment of constitutions. That means the INEC should have waited for the decision of the Supreme Court with regards to the Nasarawa State Deputy Governor, or Zamfara State Deputy Governor, to have been effected into law and then apply that to every other person, probably with the next not too young to run bill.
Natasha Akpoti,
but then choosing to allow the Deputy Governor of Zamfara State to go on and hold me liable,
at this time.
that's wrong.
Natasha Akpoti, thanks again for your time.